Good day. Hope you're well. Welcome back. And there you see it. I'm sure you saw the thumbnail. Now you're here and you see the secondary message. Someone I considered a friend, a colleague, a co-planner, and my main mod, Nitro, kicked me from the Book of the Vishanti. Still tough for me to believe. Now that the stage is set, we're going to look through the end of season statistics, rewards, and we're going to expand on the definitely not clickbaity thumbnail and stories of the drama, the intrigue, and the scandal that was the Book of the Vishanti's Season 52 Chase for a Return to Masters. So if you've been following the channel, you know we did wind up obtaining Masters. We did it this time in the 10th war of the season. That win secured us in the top 20. We had 2 shots at securing the top 10. Unfortunately, we fell short in both of those, but a heck of a season. So this Master Rank 5 is actually 15th, and those are some pretty juicy rewards. So let's claim those bad boys, and I'll just continue to expand on all of the things that were going on. You know, anytime you get into a competitive environment, when we're talking about being in the top 20 in the world, well, frankly, tensions are going to get high. Things are going to be inflamed. And sometimes that's going to drive some friction. I mean, even air causes friction, right? You don't notice it much till you stick your hand out the window when you're going 70 miles an hour. I don't know what that is in kilometers for my foreign friends. But friction. This is a natural part of team sports. And this, in competitive alliance play, is exactly that. You have 30 people striving to work together to obtain a goal, to overcome a challenge, to accomplish the mission. And so that happened. And obviously, you know, sides were chosen, a favorite was picked, and it turns out at the end of that favoritism, it wasn't me, but Nitro, who was chosen as the overall favorite and heir apparent to continue to build the Masters foundation that the Book of Vishanti is growing. I mean, can you imagine? Can you imagine that when you're trying to strive to be top 20 in the world, that maybe not everything is sunshine, rainbows, and roses? Maybe unicorns aren't hopping around on every rainbow-edged surface? I mean, it's a novel concept, and I think it surprised some people. But not me. Okay, I'm an OG. I'm an old man. And I understand how life works. And so despite the shock, despite the broken heart that came with that boot, I can tell you that there are no hard feelings. At least not for the Book of Vishanti and AOH or anyone that I played with. But certainly some hard feelings for that big Nitro boot that he put to my backside to get me out of the Book of the Vishanti. Unimaginable. The betrayal. The scandal. The pain. The suffering. I hope that you've enjoyed where we've been so far, because we're just getting started. Just getting started on the transition to what's really going on here, which is that you've certainly been clickbaited if you didn't pick up on that already. I love the Book of the Vishanti. I was there for almost a year and a half. It's a wonderful group of guys, a professional alliance striving to grow and continue to build on that process of ongoing improvement. I loved my time there. I hope to return. The truth of the matter is, we were grinding. And when you grind, like I said earlier, there's some friction for sure. But all in all, man, we worked it out. We worked together. We accomplished the mission. And I love those guys. Anyone who wants to strive to be a high performer in this game, but do it in a chill environment where there's not a tremendous amount of stress and pressure for every little mistake that gets made, this is your group. I highly recommend reaching out to Nitro, reaching out to Strange, and putting your hat in the ring. You know, Strange took a chance on me back in the day, really helped be an integral part of my growth as a player in this game. And, you know, it was my pleasure to play with those guys and do the same with the Alliance. It is not a pleasure, as I opened this loyalty crystal, to get more SIGs on Arcus. Was really shooting for Storm, Mordo, or a Duck dupe out of that. So As we finish this here, we're going to transition to what this video is really about, which is going to be the end of season stats and my take on why I had to leave competitive alliance play. Oh, that was good fun. You know, people have been asking about the drama and stuff and why I left and all the things, and it's been fun to mess with people over time, but yeah, that was a lot of fun. Here we are, season 52 final stats. 71 fights, officially 70 because of the onslaught fight in the first war. 64 solos, 8 deaths. 2 of those deaths were to that same onslaught, so just over 90%, even if I account for that death. You can see also the sweet rewards that I did earn in the battle group. MVP overall of the season, and also was the boss killer for the Alliance, so it was a great season. Oh, sorry, mini boss killer. Mini boss killer. Yeah, no, someone else took all the bosses. Really good season. Really enjoyed kind of closing it out. This transition for me has been in the works for a while. So I kind of knew before the season that I was probably going to be working my way out, and that is effectively how it wound up through time. So let's get into why. Let's get into why it is I needed to leave and take a step back from competitive alliance play. As you know, I'm a fan of giving you kind of an outline or an agenda on what I plan on doing. So here are the 5 main things we're going to cover. First one being personal reasons and growth. We're going to talk about my issues with Alliance War from a competitive standpoint. We're going to talk about game functionality, the shifting nature of pay to win, and of course, an expected return? Question mark? I don't have a slide built for it, so let's just get into the personal reasons and growth. I am looking to shift my gears a little bit on this channel. I want to get better at actually creating content that means something to you. I want to spend more time engaging specifically with the community. And I also want to dabble outside of MCOC and kind of expand on some thoughts and feelings that I have. And I think it will make for some engaging, entertaining stuff. To be real, it's probably going to upset some people. I'm perfectly okay with that, but I want to create a space where we can all talk, discuss, hang out, have a good time, and work through some of the things of real life. So I also look to expand my channel. Obviously want to continue to grow subs, expand my Discord. I've got some fun 500 sub ideas in mind, and same for 1,000. So let's keep growing, let's keep jamming. If you haven't liked or subbed yet, please do so. And you know, if you decide you want to leave, you can do that later. But until then, let's kick it. So let's kick off the primary measure at hand, because when we're talking about competitive alliance play, that primarily rotates around alliance war. Right? I said specifically leaving tier 1. And, you know, like I said, I love the alliance. I love what we've been doing. I've been planning for months now, and we've been improving the process along the way, and we've seen results from that improvement. But also there are the time requirements, the planning and the stress that come with those things. You know, most of the people I talk to who say that they enjoy alliance war are not planners. Some of them are, and they're a rare breed. If you have them in a high tier alliance, you should strive to keep them. But the time requirements that it takes to plan was effectively no less than 6 to 8 hours a week. And that's just the initial planning phase, right? That doesn't account for the follow-on, the communication with each individual about specific fights, questions, etc. It doesn't account for the research or the need to watch a bunch of other videos to understand what the other people are using, where they're placing their champs, what they're using for attack. And then you go and you spend this time, you spend these hours putting together a plan. And then you hop into the game mode, and there's just the stress that comes with it, right? When we're talking about wars that are decided on time, when any little mistake or error or upcoming potential functionality issues cause a death, it's just crazy amount of stress, right? As there kind of should be when you're competing at a high level, but at the same time, it's a mobile video game, so pretty tough to account for handling or bearing that type of stress when you got other stuff going on in life. Beyond that, we've got the frustrating tactics and poor champ pools. You know, I've been here in this last tactic, you got miss built in, you got power gain built in, you got all these struggles. I've been in the crush tactic where you can't dex. These tactics that have been coming out are just very difficult to deal with. Again, especially in light of where we're going to discuss next, which is the ridiculous functionality that's going on in this game. That doesn't even account for the champ pools that we're talking about, where you have in these tactics just sometimes some of the worst defenders in the game, the toughest to deal with. And then in order to counter those champs, you have some of the least effective champs in the game. I mean, the current tactic right now, you have champs who have to apply debuffs, and then you have champs that can't apply debuffs unless you have certain masteries unlocked. And sure, can they do it with a synergy? Yeah. A synergy with a banned champ and a synergy with a non-tactic champ. So what am I going to do with that? We're really just not being put in position to be successful when trying to execute this game mode at a high level. And I think it's at a point, for me at least, where it's not incentivizing me to get better, but instead is burdening me to the point where I just didn't want to deal with it anymore. Some of those champs I'm referring to, these overly complicated new champions, and I think in this case we can just explicitly say Enchantress. I mean, you have a champion who legitimately is a book to read and understand what interactions are going on. And trying to identify an approach to how you can take that fight on various nodes, which we're going to talk about the stacking kit complexities next. Trying to figure out an approach to those fights and put someone in position to be successful while making sure that they don't die, and trying to maintain a quick fight speed and get to a point where you're putting us in position to win the war, is just ridiculous. And it's not slowing down, right? The champs that are coming out are continuing to have these very, very complicated kits, and it's just a lot to deal with. And then let's talk about the stack, right? Because anytime you get into Alliance War, you have a defender's kit, you have the defensive node that they're on, you have the defensive tactic that they're on, or that's going on, and then you have the attacker's kit. And the more complicated all of these things get, the more someone has to sit and try to use, a PhD in MCOC to figure out what's going to happen when you do certain things, or how is this interaction going to operate. And that doesn't even account for the fact that a lot of times things in this game don't operate the way that they're intended to. And frankly, there are things in this game that even Kabam themselves can't explain to us why they operate that way. Hashtag I love Domino, even if Simula wants her deleted. And the reality is it's kind of growing out of control. And I think that we see that because there are other aspects of the game we'll talk about where we see the lack of control. But when we're in high tier competitive Alliance War play, and we're expecting minimal deaths at the quickest speed possible, and we're expecting people to invest their time and their money to be able to compete at this level, well, when you then put me in position to fail through various reasons, and in this case we're just talking about a ridiculous, overly complex situation, it's disheartening, it's stressful, it's frustrating, and it's just not making the game mode fun. And speaking of not fun, let's continue to expand down this road and talk about the functionality of this game. Okay, I know we're all feeling this right now. We're feeling it on various levels. People have been chasing and running through the new BG season, and obviously this is mostly focused on the competitive side of team play. But all of these tie to the entire game. Okay, we're talking about Alliance War here, so let's talk about the AI. Right? The AI is out of control in terms of what's going on. For a long time we were being gaslit, no offense or disrespect, but the continued, we haven't made any changes, which all of us knew, especially those that had been playing, over the last 7, 8, 9, 10 years. We know the AI has been changed. We know that things are no longer the same as they used to be. For someone to sit and tell you that's not the case is pretty frustrating. So now at least we have some acknowledgement that there are things going on, and that's cool, but it's out of control. The reaction time of the AI is out of control. The fact that they can parry your striker or your special, even when you're flowing smoothly out of a combo. The newly picked up ability to basically dash in with the medium, and then back out and block, so that way when you're trying to like find an opening for your special, right? Recovering before specials are even done. I've had a time where I was using, I think, Hulkling versus Sinister, not a great matchup, but I hit him in the corner and hit him with my special too, and he literally stood up and hit me in the face while my special 2 was finishing, like right after I finished my last hit. How is that even possible? Okay, they have mad parry skills. They've been trying to fix reparry. Now as a result, anytime the defender dashes back and you try to dash in at them, we're getting parried 80, 90% of the time. And you can't dash in and hit them, but then you can't back off and let them come to you because they're just walking up. They walk up to you. You know that if you dash in when they're walking up to you, they're just gonna parry you. So what are you supposed to do? And even if all of that's not the case, the intercepts are wild. I mean, what is going on when I'm dashing back, tapping my light, and my light whiffs into their medium dash, but their medium attack hits me in the face? What is this timing of what's going on? And all of this applies to competitive alliance war. Every single one of these things that I'm talking about are things that players have to deal with in alliance war in a mode where we're depending on the interactions of 150 fights among 30 people. We're hoping and praying that that stuff's not going to go wrong. And it's crazy. It's too much and takes too much heart and soul to put into something to be victorious, to have so many broken functions just in the AI lead to potential outcomes. But let's keep talking about game functionality, because let's talk about lag. I'm willing to bet that half the players at least that are watching this, if you've made it this far, deal with lag issues. You lag going into your fight. You lag during your fight. You'll go to Dex a special and lag, and all of a sudden you're taking a special in the face. Just in the last week, and it's separate from Alliance War, but it's in BG focused, I've watched the timer count down while I'm waiting for my opponent to do something, and it turns out they had already done it, the timer was on me, but nothing was being reflected in the screen. All of a sudden I have 1 second to place a defender, and it places my best attacker. Oh great! So now I'm here in a competitive mode, trying to strive to win, and legitimately a match is lost in the first round because my game lagged out and showed me a screen that wasn't true. It's wild. Let's go a step further beyond the lag, because it ties together. Inputs. When you try to dash back and you don't dash back. When you try to dash forward and you don't dash forward. You hit block, you don't seem to be hitting block. How am I supposed to compete at a high level when I can't have confidence or trust in the most basic functions in this game? And speaking of basic functions, disconnects. We specifically, in AOH, had 3 deaths last season, quote unquote deaths, including someone losing their deathless season to a disconnect. Frankly, it's unacceptable. And then we get back to the champs, where we talked about before, these complex interactions and all this complexity. We have continually stacking and growing complexity in a game where the fundamentals are not working. My basic inputs are not working. The interactions with my opponents are not working. The flow of the game is not working. The connection of the game is not working. And then you're stacking ridiculous champs that require specific interactions and inputs not to lag or disconnect for me to be successful. It's creating a very unenjoyable experience when you're trying to compete at a high level. What in the world is going on? And really all of this boils into one thing, if I was going to simplify it into one specific thing. It is that in this game, something is constantly broken. There's always some sort of problem, whether it's with an update, or this champ's bugged, or that champ's bugged, or suddenly specials have disappeared. There's always a problem. And we've just hit a point where the trust in what's going on is too little for me to put my heart and soul at this level with what else I've got going on in the world to think that it's going to be successful. My confidence level is shot. I don't have the confidence in the capability of the game that I'm playing, and thus I have to remove a part of myself and my heart in terms of how much I'm putting into it, because it's just not going to get it back to you. I mean, how many times is someone going to get it wrong before you have to just go, okay, you're reducing my level of expectations. I have to bury the bar in the ground, knowing that if I put too much expectation on you, I'm just going to be disappointed, right? When we read that old story in my old age now, you know about it, The Boy Who Cried Wolf, I think it was only 2 or 3 times that he didn't get it right before people stopped believing him. With Kabam in this game, it's been 10 years of these same types of behaviors. It's too much. Too much for me to throw my heart into I want to be number one. And speaking of my heart, let's talk about my wallet, because I mean, I've definitely invested in this game over the past few years for sure. I bought the Reunion Crystal expansion, right? Doubled those down. I purchased champs, I bought Destroyer. But when other champs have come through, let's say starting at the Nefaria era, I wasn't willing to invest. I am not willing to invest at a high level or to put the money in that is generally required, or at least would help boost me to play at a competitive alliance level. How can I invest in something that's effectively, fundamentally broken in its functionality? Why am I gonna buy a champion that requires me to parry or evade at certain times when I cannot trust those inputs? When I have to effectively do it perfectly and hope that everything cooperates and that there is no lag and that there is no disconnect for me to win? It's just not worth it. And I'm someone who generally defends spending on the game. I hear people complain about the pay to win attitude, and yeah, I understand the frustration from people that don't want to spend money on the game, but the reality is, at any level of anything you're good at, investing money and time into it to get better is going to make you better. So yeah, I get that's frustrating. If you don't want to invest the money, don't do it. Get to where you can and call it good. But if you want to compete at a high level, well, you got to do what needs to be done. And that's an investment of time and money, and that's perfectly okay. But I personally cannot do that right now when things aren't working. Beyond that, let's talk about the actual real issues. It seems to me that the best rewards are shifting back to money. So last year, I think Kabam did a great job through Cyber Weekend, through Necropolis, through the end of the year, and early this year, in giving free-to-play players, or just players in general, the best rewards through beating content. Okay, we got rank 3s from beating Necropolis. We were obtaining a higher level of rewards, and it was making it to the point where we'd go, oh, okay, I don't have to spend at Cyber Weekend. I don't have to spend on the banquet to be able to compete and still get the best rewards. But all of a sudden now, it's, you don't get an Awakening Gem unless you spend money. You don't get these champs unless you spend money. Hey, guess what? You can buy a 7-star of the newest champ as long as you spend $500. Okay. So are we transitioning back to where we were in the years before, where we were just allowing the gap to open tremendously, to where if you spent some cash on the game, you could basically dwarf an account that had been playing for 7 years? Why is there no 7-star Awakening Gem in this game unless I've spent hundreds of dollars? I don't think it's reasonable. I don't like that shift. I 100% agree that we should have opportunity to spend money in this game, that we should be encouraged and incentivized to spend money in this game. But I expect the game to work, and I also think that the best of the rewards, the highest tier, should not be for sale. And I think that Kabam is doing themselves a disservice by shifting that way back. Beyond shifting back, the last year of champ design has been kind of trash. I love the way they look. I like how they interact in the game, but the defenders have been egregious. and the attackers have been mid at best as a whole. I mean, even this new onslaught counter jack-o'-lantern that they're selling, I have not seen anything particularly impressive, and maybe it'll be a Doom and Corvus situation, right? Where these champs come out and people just sleep on them and they're actually very, very powerful. But is that the case? I mean, I don't know. These new champs that come out, they just don't hang. And anyone who's competing on the high level knows that. The most effective of the newest champs would be someone like White Tiger or Prowler or Nefaria. White Tiger and Prowler are solid, but not highly necessary. And yeah, a lot of people have Nefaria because a lot of people spent money for him. He's a very good champ. But he's not game breaking, at least not from what I've seen. And that's good, given that he was for sale. But yeah, I don't know. The investment in this game from a monetary perspective is no bueno. And beyond that, like I've said before, why am I going to invest in a game that doesn't work consistently? Are you going to go buy a car that runs sometimes? Are you going to go invest in a restaurant that's hit and miss when they bring you your food? This is nonsense. The vast majority of us are not going to do this. If you're playing Russian roulette with whatever you're purchasing, you're probably not going to do it. And yet that's effectively what we're being asked to do with this game. And yet, despite these complaints, despite the state of the game, I am very much you've presented me problems, where are my solutions? And frankly, I'm open to providing solutions. I would be open to potentially even working at Kabam to help drive some solutions. I have a corporate history, I have corporate background, I have micro problem solving skills. If you've seen my top tips video, you know I know what I'm doing. And I'd be willing to do that if I thought that there was actually any interest in that. Is there? Time will tell. For me, I'm going to continue to compete in individual play. I'm enjoying BGs. I've had decent success this season despite the frustrations. My future investments, I'll probably invest somewhat in Cyber Weekend and the Banquet. You know, I've got 10K units, and I'll continue to take the same very measured approach that I do in what I'm going to spend and invest in this game to determine how successful I want to be and what I'm trying to do in the climb. And lastly, I do expect to return to competitive alliance play. I'm hopeful that some of these problems will be corrected between now and then, but even if they're not, it's a tremendous place. Like I said earlier, I enjoyed the camaraderie, I enjoy the attitude, I enjoy going through difficult challenges with a group to try to be successful, and the bond that those things create. I guarantee you that some of the friendships that I have formed in my time in AOH will last through the end of this game and probably beyond that, to be quite honest. I expect to be back. I don't know what that timeline is. I have personal stuff I want to work on between now and then, not the first of which is getting to 500 subs and continuing to expand my channel to bring my perspective to the world and to the game. Between now and then, it's just going to be us hanging out. And there you have it. There's the drama. There's the intrigue. There's the scandal. Did it have anything to do with getting kicked? Nah. I asked those guys to kick me, just so I could clickbait you a little bit. The real drama, intrigue, and scandal that's going on right now is in the mechanics, the nuts and bolts of this game, and the company that runs it. I know there are good people there. I know there are people who want to do the right thing, and I'm sure they do the right thing. But I've also worked in a corporate environment, and I know what it's like to be in the heart of it, to know that you're not doing the right thing, to watch the company continue to drive something into the ground, and it hurts. And I'm gonna be honest with you, there's always a time to pay the piper. If we don't start correcting this road now, well, we'll see how far the game makes it. Thank you for being here. I hope you've enjoyed my rambling, ranting rhetoric. I wish you all the best. I'll see you in the streams, and until next time, peace.